Yo! What up? Welcome to another fun video. Today we are going to be talking about of estimation of sums. Man, this pen, sorry. And differences. So we are going to talk about a pretty sweet skill today. It's a skill that you would see in all of the four operations in math. Estimation is a universal skill. It's a very important one. Today we're going to be focusing on sums and differences, and we're actually even going to get into um, decimals. That's the word I was looking for. So again, if we think, differences. So again, as stated, right, this concept of estimation, which we'll talk about, really comes across all four operations in math, right? We use estimation when we multiply, we use multiplication when we divide, we use estimation. Wait, did I say we use multiplication when we divide? We use estimation when we divide, we use addition when, oh my gosh, we use estimation when we add, and we use estimation when we subtract. I hope that made sense after all of that. And so today we are going to focus on just two of these operations, and we're actually also going to work on the fact that in these operations we're going to be looking at decimals. So we're going to talk about sums. So that is the answer to an addition problem. I guess I should have done that in the same color. And we're going to talk about differences, which is the answer to a subtraction problem. And then again, of course, we're going to do so using estimation. Now, I got to go to another page just to literally talk about estimation because it's a really important skill. Estimation is super important. I think we overlook it and then we forget why it's so important. Because here's the cool thing about estimation. Estimation is the concept of getting an answer that is about or as close to the real answer as I might be able to get. And we use, I think often people are like, well, why don't we just get the answer? Well, what's cool about estimation is that estimation, what it does is it allows us to know if our work is reasonable. And that's really why. I think what's really cool about it is that we can often do estimation in order to get an answer that we know is close to the real answer. And then when we do the math itself, we might be able to stop and say, oh, oops, I might have made a mistake because my estimation and my real answer aren't close at all. Okay. And so when we think about estimation and about and how to get a reasonable answer, the key skill to that, right? And here's that connection I say, and this was in another video, not to say you've watched them all, but is that estimation is about, and about is the skill of rounding. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're rounding. Now, if you're like, man, I don't rounding what? We're going to kind of review that a little bit in this video as we go, but there also are other videos on rounding that I would recommend that you go check out to get a background if you're like, I don't know what you mean by rounding. Like, I'm going to turn my numbers into a circle. Like, that doesn't make sense. That's not what we're doing. So today we're going to go ahead and we're going to use estimation to get reasonable answers to solve through rounding some sums and differences. So that would be adding and subtracting decimals. Woo! So let's dive in. So let's just take a first example. So one first example might be we have 22 and, oh, I don't know, 84 hundredths. And we are going to subtract 13 and 97 hundredths. Let's just go there. Now, the real answer would be actually to do this math, but we're not going to do this math today. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to follow a cool three-step process, as always, to allow us to do this work. One, we are going to round to, I'm going to call it compatible. Oh boy. It's like, oh, so many vocabulary words at once. We're going to round to compatible. Then we will stack, and it will make sense. Don't worry. When we work through it and practice it, these steps will make some sense for sure. And then I'm going to go ahead and then solve, and that's also making sure I'm aware of what operation I'm supposed to be doing in this case. So let's start with that. So step one, round to compatible numbers. What compatible means is that you're really rounding to whole numbers that are easy to work with. For me, again, I'm going to look at this right away, and I'm just going to go ahead and start with that rounding of understanding whole numbers. And so if I pay attention to the whole number, right, these are the whole numbers over here, the ones in the tens place, and I really want to just round to the nearest one. So in theory, and I'm going to erase this, but again, I want to visualize this because this was in the other video. I have this concept that 22 is here and 23 is here, right? Those are the next ones. That's me thinking whole numbers, 22, then 23. But we also know that this is broken into tenths, which means I'm going to come in here and break this number into tenths. And 22 and 8 tenths would be like right here. So 22 and 8 tenths, when rounded to the nearest whole number, is closer to 23 than it is to 22. And I'm going to keep that brief because, like I said, there's a whole video on that I really want to recommend you go check out if you're not sure what I mean by that. So when I round this, we're going to move this out. When I round this 22 and 84 hundredths, right, you can see what it's going to get me is 23. And then when I round this 13 and 97 hundredths, or like $13.97, that's really close to 14. Okay. So now I have a whole different equation because I'm really just, or I should say expression in this case, I am just using whole numbers. And that is the idea. I'm not going to worry about this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stack this next. I'm going to take my whole numbers stack. Remember, I'm done up here. I'm not going to worry about these anymore. I'm taking these two. So I'm going to go 23 minus 14, right? Again, I'm going to go ahead and solve, making sure I have the right operation. This is subtraction, so I am using subtraction. So if I start in my ones place, I have 3 and I'm taking 4 away. That does not work, so let me regroup that. It gets me 9. Oh, it gets me 9 because 0. So again, my answer is about 9. So 22. Oh boy, there's a lot of stuff up there. Let's see. Let's get rid of this real quick. See if we can't. So 22, I'm going to come up and move these out. 22 and 84 hundredths minus 13 and 97 hundredths. Well, the only answer I need in this, because we are estimating, is about 9. It is about 9. It's about 9. And there we go. That's it. That's the only step for now. We're not even going to worry about going back and doing these decimals yet. So what I know is that when I have to do this work, I should have an answer that's close to 9. That's why this is so cool. Okay, so let's keep playing. Let's play around with this a little bit and also think about how we could do this again in another way of compatibility. I'm actually going to keep these same numbers. I'm going to write 9 over here. So remember that was the first way we did this. But what also is great about compatible numbers is it's kind of what works for you. It's really what works for you. But also we want to be within reason because the closer we are, the more accurate we can get. But if I do look at this, if I think about compatible numbers and I look here, I might also just look at this as saying, you know what? This is 22 and 84. If I think about nearest 10, this is like 20. And then again, this was a 14. And so now again, I can go ahead and stack these, right? And seeing how I'm thinking differently. I feel like 20 is more compatible than 23 because I was thinking tens, and that's going to get me 6. So my answer is about 6. Now, what we did here, though, is a little different because if you notice, I rounded down here, right? The first time I rounded up to 23. This time I rounded to 20. And that's what really starts to happen where we see these differences, right? And you can even see that in my answers. That's actually quite a bit of a difference. 3 holes is quite a bit of a difference, right? If I was to eat 9 slices of pizza or 6 slices of pizza, I got to say that's a big difference, those 3 extra pieces for sure, right? So what we're doing here, and I want to talk about this here is, and I'm going to, of course, move to another screen. 20, what was it? It was like 20. Oh yeah, 22 and 83 hundredths, right? Ooh, no, wait. Let me rewrite it like here, 22 and 83 hundredths. All right. So when we first rounded it, right, we rounded it up to 23, which was pretty accurate. That's super close. The second way I actually rounded it down to 20, which was very still compatible. Like, right? It's a compatible number. And so this is also another skill we want to make sure we understand because this right here, when I round down, when I round smaller than the real number, we call that a underestimation, which makes sense. I'm rounding down. So down is under, right? So this is called an underestimation. That looks funny. Let me do this. I'm gonna get rid of this E and then make it capital. So that's an underestimation. Now, when we round up, if you're already thinking and you got it together, right, what we're doing is we are doing an overestimation. Okay. So these are two things we do want to make sense of when we're doing math is to think about how am I rounding my numbers? Am I rounding them up so my estimation is higher than the real value? Or am I going to round down so my estimation is lower than the real value? Because that does help with accuracy and understanding what my answer is. If I want a more accurate answer, a more accurate estimation, this is probably the best way to go because I didn't round too far away. I only rounded up like what, 1700s. Where here, if I round down, I'm rounding down like 2 and 8300s, right? And that there's a difference in that for sure. But both are acceptable work, right? This is what we start to learn. Are we doing an overestimation or are we doing an underestimation? Okay, so let's practice another one because I feel like this is one of those moments where I get so excited to talk about like a thing and then it's like, well, yeah, but what about today's skill? So let's go back to today's skill. Let's say we have something like this, like 49, right? Which is just a whole number. That's okay. We can still estimate. Plus, let's say 19 and 731 thousandths. Okay. Now, again, if you remember that first step, that what I'm going to do is I'm going to round to compatible, right? So we're going to round to compatible. Oh boy, that's gets sloppy. So what's cool about this is that actually 49 to me isn't really compatible, but 50 is because that's like a base 10 number. So I'm actually going to round that to 50. That actually works for me. And then here I got 19 and 731 thousandths. And if you remember any of that work we did with like the number line and we like made sense of all these different places, which was such a beautiful conversation. What we could understand here is that I'm between 19 and 20 holes, and I'm closer to 20 actually, because the 7 in the tenths place, 7/10, right? That puts me pretty close to 20. So I'm going to round this one to 20. And then, I mean, you can see there's some mental math, but let's kind of stick with the rules here. So let's go ahead and stack it. So I'm going to end up with a 50 plus a 20. And then when I solve that one out, right, again, I want to note my operation, which is addition. I end up with 70. So what that means is when we take 49 and we add 19 and 731 thousandths, I get about 70. And that's exactly what we want to do. That's it. That's it. Okay, we don't have to go solve 49 plus 19 and 731 thousandths yet. We are going to do that later. But in this case, that's all I need to do. So let's try one more. And then that should call it for the day. All right. So again, this is one of the ones where I'd recommend that you definitely pause the video and try to solve it and then come back. So let's say we have, let's use money since decimals like money. So we have $12.99, and we're going to take away $3.95. This is a good real life lesson because we do this all the time in the store when we're working with money. We are constantly estimating. Okay, so step one again, remember we're going to round. So we're going to round. Oh, yeah, by the way, I hope you paused. If you haven't yet, pause and go solve this. Okay, great. Thanks for unpausing and coming back. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and we're going to round to the compatible. I'm just going to say compat, round to the compat. So 12 and 99 hundredths to me, what's super compatible there? That's really close to 13. And we're going to take away 4, right? And actually, I'm going to double back to this 4 real quick. I should, because I do want to use our other strategy of rounding because one is thinking about that reasonability, but we also just have the simple system of rounding, right? Find your place, look next door. This number here circled is 5 or more, so I'll add one more. 3 plus 1 gets me 4. And then the rest turn into zeros, which would be 4 and 0 hundredths, which is still 4, right? So again, remember we have that. So, okay, next, let's go ahead and stack. And again, hopefully you've done this problem already. So I have 13 and I'm going to subtract 4. So we're going to go ahead and solve now, right? That third and final step. We're going to solve again, always noting the operation. I think sometimes we like lose track and sometimes we might add when we're supposed to subtract and all that other jazz. This is a subtraction symbol. This is a subtraction symbol. I am subtracting. If I start my ones place, 3 minus 4 does not work because I have 3. I can't take 4 away. So I need to go ahead and regroup, making this 13. Oh, well, isn't that the same thing? Gosh. Okay, so I guess what I could do in this scenario is let's just add up, right? We're at 4. We need to find the difference of to 13. So let's see, 4 plus 6 gets me to 10. And then 10 plus 3 more gets me to 13. So I guess the difference is 9. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so there we go. It's about 9. So let's see. Let's go back to the cleanup now that we saw that work. Come up here, I guess. Ooh, not that one. Um, and if we wanted to then write this answer in the correct way, sorry, round compatible, we gotta get rid of you. When we take $12.99 and we subtract $3.95, we will get about $9. And there you have it. Oh, and let's see, what did I do? Oh, I did an overestimation, actually, because this was 4, so I rounded up, and this was 13, and I rounded up. So actually, the answer of about $9, when I actually do this math, it would be a little less than $9 because I did an overestimation. My real answer would be smaller than my estimation. All right, cool. I'm gonna leave you at that. Remember how this works. Ask the questions, do the work, get it done, practice, practice, practice. Check out other videos if you're feeling like this is a little confusing. And if you don't even know what other videos to check out, go ahead and contact me and let me know, and I can point you in the right direction. You are wonderful. We appreciate you. Keep up the good work, and peace out.